Good evening, y'all, and welcome back. This is segment 17 of the story of my life. My name is Eugene Jepson. This will probably be the longest one yet. Anyway, several years down the road, and another learning experience I'll share is that of my shooting accident. My helper, Marty Lauer, had been out shooting with her fiance and thought that was something new and fun that we could try together. I told her that I had grown up shooting. I'd enjoyed it and even went deer hunting when I was younger. She brought over her dad's pew-pews and we went shooting. After reminding me how much fun it was, I started looking for one I could borrow or buy. The next day I was talking with my other helper, Amy Shegrew, and found out that she liked shooting as well. And we ended up going twice, once Friday and again on Saturday. And this was the day my accident happened. I ended up borrowing one of my dad's pew-pews from my brother Jeffa. But when Jeffa lent it to me, he said to have fun, but not to shoot myself. I replied with, "That's not going to happen." Saturday morning came, and as we were leaving, my mom said basically the same thing. What I hadn't realized at the time was that the three of us had been having the same inspirations. The Holy Ghost often warns us and was warning me that I was going to shoot myself. But at the time, I didn't realize it was an inspiration. Later, I realized I kept arguing with voices in my head that I wasn't suicidal and I wasn't going to shoot myself. At the time, I kept thinking it was just me replaying Jeppa and my mom's comments, running over and over in my mind. Saturday afternoon came, and we ordered pizza for lunch, and then drew targets on the boxes and ran out the door to shoot. I was first to shoot, and I shot through a clip. And then it was Amy's turn, and she took her turn. My turn came again, and I was getting ready to shoot. I came up with the stupid idea of using an umbrella to shade me from the sun. I balanced the umbrella in between my shoulder and my wheelchair, loaded one into the chamber, and took the pew-pew off safety. I was just about to shoot when the umbrella fell. I thought I could quickly grab it as it was falling and reach for it, but instead of catching it, I ended up knocking the pew-pew off of my balanced hand and onto the index finger of my other hand, where the pew-pew accidentally went off, shooting myself in the thigh. It took a few seconds to gather my thoughts. I knew the pew-pew had gone off, but at first I didn't realize it had even hit my leg. But I was wondering where the bullet had gone. I quickly looked around to see if there was dust flying, and then trying to remember if I heard a ping as if I had hit my wheelchair, all during which I was conversing and arguing with the Holy Ghost and guardian angels surrounding me that I wasn't suicidal and I wasn't going to shoot myself. Like I said, I didn't realize it until later, but I had been hearing verbal voices as well. It was just moments later that I started thinking about the new pain I had in my leg, and I didn't know what the cause of it was. Within seconds, though, Amy asked, "Are you going to shoot?" I responded with, "I think I just shot myself." She said, "Shut up. It's not something you joke about. To which I replied, no, really, I think I did. And that was when she looked down at my leg and she noticed there was a hole in my new Levi's. And she said, oh my heck, you did. We quickly unloaded the pew, jumped in my van, and headed towards this hospital where I called 911. At least I called 911 for my van to report my accident and to see if a sheriff was needed to come to and meet us at the hospital. They asked if I had needed an ambulance, to which I told them no. I figured that by the time when it got to where we would be able to make it to the hospital. After hanging up with them, I figured I'd better call my mom. I figured that if I was the one to call her, that I could calmly tell her what had happened, and it wouldn't be someone else frantically calling her from the hospital. I said, hi, Mom, how are you? She responded with, oh, just fine. I said, we're on the way to the specialty hospital. I accidentally shot myself, but don't worry, I'm just fine. And it doesn't really hurt anyway. And I'll see you when we get home. Jeppa had been over mowing our lawn, and she ran out of the door and asked him to drive her to the hospital. Amy and I arrived at the hospital, and I drove my wheelchair into the waiting room. There was a nurse at the desk, but she was on the phone, so I waited till she got done. She asked what I needed, but either she couldn't hear me or there was a radio playing in the background, or she couldn't understand me. And that's when Amy came running in the door, and I told her that the lady didn't understand what I needed. She told them that I needed to see a doctor, and that was when I got the help that I needed. They rushed me into the emergency room, where they asked, on a scale of 1 to 10, how much pain was I in compared to anything I had had before. And I says, maybe a 4, maybe 5 or 6. I said I had a warm, burning sensation, and then it mainly hurt when I put pressure against it. I've been in pain every day of my life, so this didn't seem like all that painful to me. They x-rayed my leg several times, but they had a heck of a time trying to figure out just how the bullet had gone straight through my leg without hitting any bone, veins, or arteries as it traveled through my leg, and there still are bullet fragments behind my knee to this day. The doctors talked to me about having surgeries and removing those fragments, but I explained that with my condition, that would be impossible. At least if they did so, could cause more damage. But since there wasn't anything else they could do for me, they bandaged me up and sent me home. I originally thought the bullet had just grazed or scratched my leg, leaving a flesh wound. A couple weeks later, I went to another doctor's visit where he took several more x-rays. As he was looking at them under the magnification, he noticed a diagonal line straight through the femur, and the doctor exclaimed that he had finally found the trajectory of the bullet. I told him I could feel something moving inside the middle of my leg, and he suggested that I buy an elastic knee brace, kind of like you see runners use. A few days later, a home health guide was putting that brace over my knee and over my Levi's when my femur snapped into two. I was sitting on the edge of my bed when it snapped, and my leg couldn't support itself any longer and just was kind of dangling there in a lot of pain. That was the first day I remember staying in my chair all day. because it was too painful to even move. When I went to bed that night, my entire body was trembling in pain. We made another appointment, and the doctor told me that they couldn't cast the femur and sent me home with a more complicated leg brace on. This brace had an adjustable knobs on both sides of it, which made it even more uncomfortable than anything I had ever used before, and I took it off as soon as I got home. I've never worn it again. For the next several weeks, all I could do was lay around and take it easy. I haven't been able to walk since breaking my femur, though I could still stand on my feet until just like 6 years ago. Breaking my toes and the bones of my feet several times was what done me in that for that. That story is later. Since my shooting accident, I've learned to follow impressions a lot more closely. Like me, if you ever have an unexplained feeling that you should or shouldn't do something and you just can't explain it away, I would highly recommend you follow it. It's likely a prompting from the Lord, and there's a reason why we have them. The Lord is watching out for us, whether we want to admit it or not. He forewarns us of danger, and if we just heed his promptings, we would be much better off. His love for us is so very incredible and is way more than we could ever imagine. I testify of that fact. Later on, I had a conversation with my brother Joe, and we were talking about what had happened, and he said that he was surprised that of anyone, I'd be someone that this would happen to, because I've always been somewhat safety conscious. You might think I'm crazy, but I picked up shooting again. I shot in a pistol competition for the last 6 years, minus the last 2 years. Well, 6 years and up until like 2 years ago anyway. And it has been a lot of fun, and I was getting a lot better at shooting. I could even shoot in the same hole over and over and over again. I even impressed the people that I shot with, and they attributed the last 2 shoots of the season to me. One of my favorite quotes that I heard there was, "I've never seen anyone leave here as happy as you are." The competition sure has been a blast and has become one of the biggest joys of my life. Don't worry, though, if I have an impression like the one I had before, I would quit shooting in a heartbeat and would retire my gun. After the 6 years of shooting, I had to retire my gun anyway, but not because of any impressions or accidents as you might think, but because I lost the mobility in my arm due to flare-ups from my condition, and I can't even shoot anymore. Bummer. Anyway, this is where I'll end segment 17. Thank you for listening, reading, or watching. I hope you've enjoyed my story so far. Thank you, and have a wonderful day. Keep smiling, and God bless.